Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Tonight we read, even though we read it before, but we are talking about it tonight. The page 32 to 30, the top part of 35. That means finishing anxiety due to change. So we read two subchapters, the vicissitudes of life. We need to be constantly reminded about the vicissitudes of life. So we read it again. So page 32. The vicissitudes of life, and then the anxiety due to change. Okay, we end on the top of page 35. The vicissitudes of life. These 8 worldly conditions. Monks keep the world turning around, and the world turns around these 8 worldly conditions. What 8? Gain and... Okay? Good. Vicissitudes of life. There are how many? 8. Good. So, 8 vicissitudes of life. Actually, there are more than 8. But the Buddha just pointed out these 8 worldly conditions keep the world turning. And the first paragraph on this subchapter, the vicissitudes of life, he said these 8 worldly conditions, monks keep the world turning around, and the world turns around these 8 worldly conditions. Why? Why would like, it's sort of like a mutual thing, like the world turns around it and it turns around the world. It turns around in the world too. We get caught up. Yeah, the world turning around it, and the world turned around these, and these 8 conditions keep the world turning, and the world also turning around us. So it is sort of like a what? You know, one of those little, huh? A top. Yeah, little thing, the spinning top. Yeah, when it spins. You think it is only it spins? It doesn't, no. And the air around itself also spins. You see? And what makes it stop? Because it doesn't have the power anymore to spin. So the air around it cannot support it to spin anymore. Or like a boomerang. You throw that boomerang out, and the way it's designed, it catches that kind of movement, the current, and it brings it back. You see, whenever there's a movement, there is something turning or going, there is always an anti-movement going together with it, isn't it? Right? So that's why when you, when you're making cookies, when you are stirring up the flour, do you go clockwise and then anti-clockwise? You do? So that you don't? I remember when we were little, I can't remember what my mom taught us. You never do it 2 directions. You only do it in 1 direction. You never do it 2 directions. She said then, egg yolk, beating the egg to steam, huh? Yeah. So Mom always say you just go like this. We use the chopsticks, right? We don't use one of those, whatever you call them. What do you call? A whisker. No, we don't have whisker. Our chopsticks is the best whisker. So we go like this, and she said, you don't go like this. And then you go, oh, I remember, I think it's making gravy, the cornstarch thing. So you go like this. You always go like this. If you go like that, you're actually making more clumps in the walk. Then you stir it up like this, just like this. Then you go like this. It's sort of like you're turning around, so things got clustered again. So yeah, so you see, there is always like energy with anything. So, and these 8 worldly conditions are a really strong energy that goes around in the world that traps us, and we are being trapped by these, and they are there to trap us, but we trap ourselves too in there. So which are the 8? Gain and loss, the first one. So this gain and loss, do you think is always talking about material stuff? No. Yeah. Of course, it's not just material. It could be, huh? Relationship. Yep. Yeah. It could be your possession. It could be a relationship. It could be anything. Material, mental. All right. And fame and disrepute. So this you can see this is driving the world around. Fame, driving the world around crazy and driving people around crazy, fame. So anybody who is on the headline of the newspaper, whether it's good or bad, there will be fame for them. And a lot of people are actually really running after this particular. And the fame can become such a poison that people could lose their principles, step over boundaries, and just do anything. Fame. And this is so invisible, isn't it? Fame is invisible. The fame itself is invisible. But the people around you trying to push you up and praise you when you're there, that is very visible. You can see that. All right? And that is actually a very detrimental vicissitude. Praise and blame. Oh, we all like to hear praise. Don't talk to me about blame. Don't blame me. You're blaming me. And I don't like that. Right? So praise, yeah, lovely. I want more. Please say more, lovely. Yeah, praise. But, blame. Sometimes blaming is really not too bad, I think. Can you see it? Exactly, yeah. Creative or helpful advices. You think that we're blaming you, right? So, and you don't like it. But those could be a way to actually help one grows or help one come out from one's arrogance or difficulties, or to improve better. And pleasure and pain, we are all trapped in this. Okay, the first 3, maybe as we grow old, we think, oh no, I can do without this, no problem. Gain and loss, I've come a long way. Fame, no, I live such a frugal life, and no fame for me. It's okay, and I'm a nun. And praise, no, I'm a nun, and but pleasure and pain, this could affect anybody in any walks of life and any stages of life. It could be physical, it could be mental, it could be both physical and mental at the same time. Like pain. You don't need to be like retching pain to be painful. You may have a long day of work, and you feel so tired that you don't like that tiredness. That is pain. Yeah, and you cut your finger and you don't like that cut. Of course, nobody wants that like that cut, right? I'm sorry. Nobody likes that cut. And pain, and if you hate that pain, that could create so much difficulty for you, right? So pleasure and pain, when we are getting older, I think we experiencing more and more physical pain, but it's important, remember not to react to the physical pain, to make it become a mental pain. Otherwise, you'll be stabbing yourself with the second dot. Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yeah? Second dot. Keep stabbing yourself every day. You don't die, you know, but you keep stabbing. You die, it's okay. You stab once and you die, that's okay. But you know, you don't die, you keep stabbing, but yet you keep stabbing. Don't do that. Okay, so he said in here, an uninstructed worldling. So that means an uninstructed person. He does not reflect on it. What does he not reflect on? What does he not reflect on? He does not reflect on those 8 vicissitudes or any vicissitudes in life. That is impermanent. When we are stabbed by the pleasure or pain, fame or disrepute, gain or loss, when we step by that, we think, geez, this is terrible. And you start to lament, you start to sorrow, you start to suffer. Or we start to lament, we start to sorrow, we start to suffer. And that's what I talk about just now during meditation. What is mindfulness about? 2 things about mindfulness. I just gave you that answer half an hour ago, 20. Remembering. Oh, that's good. Oh. And then the second one is? Oh, the first one is? This is second one, the first one is? Observing. Great, taking notice, yeah. You see, that is sati in Pali terms. It actually has 2 parts to it. Observing, that means knowing, noticing. And then the second part is remembering to notice. Remembering that it is impermanent, so that you don't dwell into it for too long. Yeah? So a lot of times we suffer, we lament, we sorrow because we forget. We forget this is impermanent. We said, when is it going to go? I want it to go away right now. Sorry, you have no control. Can you make the wound heal faster? No. When you're younger, the wound may heal faster. When we get older, the wound will take longer time to heal, because new capillaries take longer to come out. When we are younger, new capillaries grow faster. Yeah? So we forget. And when we forget that is impermanent, we will be bound up by suffering. We'll definitely sorrow and lament. And then when we sorrow and lament, that time we suffer. We start to suffer. And remembering suffering. What is the Pali term for suffering? Dukkha. What does dukkha mean? Unsatisfactory. And? Huh? Suffering is just one part, eh? Pain, yeah. Discontent. Dukkha. Unhappy. Unhappy, right? So that's suffering. And miserable. So this is bound up with dukkha. Dukkha, dukkha, dukkha. Constantly remind yourself. When you start to dwell into any one of these 8 vicissitudes, remember, if you forget that it is impermanent, and you start to dwell into that miseries, oh, I'm painful. I am so bad. Oh, they're blaming me. I'm such a good actor. And you start to actually dwell into the well of suffering, the well of dukkha. You go deeper and deeper and deeper. The deeper you go, the harder you come out. Because, I mean, look, if the well is only 5 feet high, that's easy. You just push and then you come up. Maybe break a tooth or two, but banging yourself on the side of the well. But if the well is 10 feet high, how are you going to come out? But our wells of suffering are much deeper than 10 feet. How are you going to come out? How are we going to come out? Without mindfulness, there's no way that we're going to come out. Okay? So remember, and this is subject to change. This is almost the same as this is impermanent. But do you see the difference between it? What?
Well, impermanence implies that it will disappear, go away.
Yes.
And subject to change means that it stays, but
Changes, different facets. Yeah, different phases of changes. So it's not necessarily completely gone, but it may be turned into other things, right? For example, like if we do not deal with these vicissitudes correctly, in a mindful way, for example, why don't we take gain and loss, and it doesn't completely, I mean, our wealth doesn't completely disappear, but it may turn into becoming other things, or or whatever, or talking about, for example, emotion. Yes, we know it will disappear, but will it completely disappear? It might not. It may become a different kind of emotion, right? So if it's not being dealt with in a proper way and in a very determined way, then that thing completely take another turn and become other things. And if you don't realize it, if you're not mindful of it, then you're being trapped in another aspect of that particular vicissitude. All right? Good. Very good. So, and because of this, we don't understand the way these things are. But does it mean that we just being so dumb and numb and just accept everything the way they are? We talked about that last week. You just accept it the way they are? People push you to the corner, you just accept it the way they are? No. What do?
React and make it worse.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, react and make it worse. Yeah.
If you're not mindful, you generally do.
Yeah. Yeah, when one is not mindful, that's what Paul said. When one is not mindful, we generally do is react and make it worse. But when we are mindful, we can act and make it better. Right? Act with mindfulness and we make it better. So there are two ways. So if people push you to go to the corner, you can just stick to the corner and make a big man right there. Stick onto there and never come out. I don't want you to stick here. There are just 4 corners and too many people sticking here. It's not going to look very nice. So, but the way, some people do. Some people allow themselves to stick to their emotions, to stick to their vicissitudes, and do not try to actually detach from it. If you remember, I don't know whether you remember me saying this actually a few years ago. In some situations, I was really pushed to the corner. And I stick to the corner for a little while. And I thought to myself, no way. I'm not going to stick to there. Because if I stick to that, I'm going to waste my life away. No, I pull myself out from, it's like a rubber, pulling yourself from there. The glue, you glue to the corner. We are so glued to our vicissitudes, so glued to it. And it's so difficult for you to realize and really pull it out. And it's difficult to pull out too, right? There's a lot of resistance because your mind don't like it. The old mind don't like it. So I pull myself out, and it was difficult, very difficult. But I see if I don't pull myself out, I'm going to glue over there for the rest of my life. It's going to cause more vicissitudes. Okay, so, and I remember, this is the way it is, and I remember, and this is the law of causation taking place, and I know this is conditioned, and I constantly remind myself, every time I try to pull myself out, I remind myself, this is causation, this is the law of causation, this is the law of dependent origination. Without a past cause, I won't be glued like this. So I constantly remind myself, I planted those causes. Nobody planted them for me, even though I was in that kind of situation. And we can easily put the blame on others. So we have a strong reason to be glued. If the whole cause is on others, we have all the good reasons to be glued. But I said, no. My life is in my own hand. I need to actually unglue myself. So I removed myself. And after that removing, that ungluing, and I grow. I grow from it. And I see this works. So mindfulness really works. But you have to constantly remind yourself. I tell you, it's a very tedious and very difficult path. And not easy. You go 4 steps forward and 5 steps backward. And you're sub-zero. Then you go again. 6 steps forward and 5 steps backward. Then you're above zero. Then you go again, back and forth all the time. But don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of that, because that's where you grow. That's how you grow. Going backward, forward, that's you grow. You grow with that. You build up that stamina, that resistance. But with an instructed person, he reflects on this as this gain is impermanent. I know this arises, it changes, it will go. Right? And if I'm so glued to this, I am bound up with dukkha, suffering. There's no other way out, right? And it's subject to change. And I want to go back to bound up with suffering. So I remember Liz asked a question last week. So we cannot enjoy life? No, we can enjoy life. But when the enjoyment is gone, we don't lament, we don't sorrow, we don't dive into that craving. I want more, I want to come back, stay here and stay. No, okay? So we don't bind ourselves up with the suffering because it's gone. It doesn't mean that we cannot enjoy life. So because an instructed worldling understand the way things are, because we are only one of the conditions that make the situation the way the situation is right now. We are only one of the many conditions. You got it? So don't think that we are very big. We are really just a tiny, minute drop of water in the ocean. But we are a part of the ocean, but we are just one drop. So every how the ocean moves around depends on all the conditions. And I cannot have that control. I cannot have the total control. So So because of this, then he will not be elated by gain, or he will not be dejected by loss, right? So when you are gaining, then you don't have to be, oh, you can. But when you lost, you don't cry, okay? But you just stop laughing, that's all. All right, okay? So when you start crying by the loss, then you remember and then smile. Because after the loss, I may be able to gain, right? And after the gain, I will definitely lose. All right? So that is it. So I want you to reflect on this. How have you been dealing with vicissitudes in life in the past? Oh, everybody has that. Wanted to dig a hole and hide, right? Poorly, huh? Okay, good. At least you know. So have your attitudes changed? Good. How often and how fast? Slow, but it's happening. Good, good. Remember, I always say practice makes progress. Yes. All we need is progress. We don't need to reach perfection yet because it's too far away. But we need progress in order to progress on the path, in order to progress on this path of happiness and brightness, right? We need to start progressing. So, with the changes, do you notice any difference with the quality of your mind? How? What? More peaceful. Less reaction. More positive? Oh, life but easier, right? Makes life easier, yeah.
It's greater concentration.
Greater concentration, good.
More aware of my reactions.
More aware of your reaction, yeah.
More like I can actually slow.
Woohoo, yeah. Ooh, yes, yes. Hush, hush. Yeah, good. Are you happy with those changes? Yeah, yeah. You're going to continue with progressing to have more changes? Good. Thumbs up. Great. So understanding impermanence, will it make you becoming more pessimistic or optimistic? Optimistic. But even after the gain, it will definitely come loss.
Yeah, it will be gain again.
And also loss and also gain, right? So and then you will start to see that you're really rolling in the game, right? You're rolling in a game, and you do still want to play that game. And that's the time you start to reflect. Do I really want to keep rolling in that game? Do I want to come out of it? That's start the renunciation.
Just personally, it takes many situations of the same reaction.
Yeah.
Mind is,
Of course.
it takes so many, and it's changing the same things in so many different ways for you to learn.
Yeah.
But I have noticed very small things I can't even mention are
Yeah.
just not there.
Yeah. Good. So remember, just keep doing it, and just finding yourself rolling into it, and rolling into a game. You remind yourself, this is the game, and this is actually a play. This is all a play on the stage. This life is a play on the stage. Do we really want to keep rolling in this kind of fake game? It's fake. But we are so attached to it. We're so attached to it that we think it is so real. And so then you keep reminding, this is the game. Don't roll yourself into the game anymore. Okay? So I was talking to the site manager today. I said, you lost some weight. He said, yeah, 30 pounds. I said, wow, good for you. What did you do? Cut down all the sugar. I said, well, I don't think you have cut down all the sugar yet. He said, no. I said, yeah. What about chocolate? He said, no, no, you can't cut down chocolate. I said, yeah, that's where that weight come from, that chocolate weight. He said, no, I can't. I said, no, you have to. 1 tablespoon of sugar takes 3 hours to metabolize. Don't tell me. He said, don't tell me. I said, okay, you have to cut that down. No, sister, please don't, no. I said, okay, today, 2 pieces. Okay, today, 2 pieces. Only today, okay? I promise you, only today, 2 pieces of chocolate. It was so funny. He was bargaining with me up there because they were placing bricks today on Building D. So we were up there, we were talking, we had a little bit of this chocolate talk. So it was so funny. You know how we roll into this kind of things? We think that we cannot live without it. But we can easily live without it once we realize that we are rolling into a game and we're rolling into a big snowball, okay, of craving. Okay? Ice cream, hey? Okay. So, the instructed worldling would, giving up likes and dislikes, will be free from birth, aging, and death. Why would you think that he will be free from birth, aging, and death? This is samsara. Yeah, but even just giving up likes and dislikes would be free from birth, aging, and death. Really? Yeah.
And you just observe as it comes, rather than I don't want it.
Uh-huh.
I want to be young, or I don't want age.
Yeah.
It just comes and accepting it as it is.
So if we die, we know that we definitely die, right? That's guaranteed. Then you think that we can be free from birth, aging, and death? If we just accept it the way it is? That means no more samsara.
Because the mind is still.
The mind is still good.
Because it understands the true nature of impermanence.
Okay, true nature of impermanence. Okay, you are all talking about theories.
Yeah.
Because remember the 12 links of dependent origination? What is at 12 o'clock? Ignorance. Where what leads to what ignorance lead to? All down there, here. 7 o'clock. 6 o'clock is what? Not tanha. Tanha is 7 o'clock. Tanha. 6 o'clock is feeling. Vedana. And then Vedana, then you have what? Tanha. Craving, right? Because of craving, then you will start to dislike. Yeah, you start to dislike and like. Clinging. So, we already have so much likes and dislike right now, right here, within this little body. But every time we react with more likes and dislike, aren't we piling up? Aren't we multiplying? Right? So in order for the old stock to be eradicated, we need to stop multiplying first. But aren't we constantly reacting? Yeah. So we constantly likes and dislikes, so we constantly add more to the stock. So if we can really, really, really actually giving up all likes and dislikes, that means we are so wise. We're not ignorant anymore. Then we will be totally free. Of course, this is the most ideal. But it's workable, it's possible. Don't feel that it is impossible. Otherwise, how come we will have the Buddha right here? We will have all the past saint teachers, right? So remember, it's a path of growth. It's a path of progress. Remember to constantly go from there, from here to there, from here to there. Constantly, take one step at a time, one step at a time. So at the end of the day, we will be free from all the sorrow, lamentation, pain, and dejection and despair. And because of that, we will be completely free from all the sufferings. Because once we are free from here, from birth, aging, and death. These will not be there anymore, right? And this is the distinction, the disparity, he said. This is the distinction, the disparity, and the difference between an instructed noble disciple. Remember, noble disciple, because this is a noble path. And only people walking on this will become noble. Okay? And this is the difference between an instructed noble disciple and an uninstructed person. All right? So this is what this whole vicissitudes of life talk about. Wow, I thought I could do more. But we could do more. Anxiety due to change. Do you want to do more, or you want to do discussion? Do more? More? Oh, more. Okay. Anxiety due to change. That means anxiety, emotions because of changes. Okay. So he says, how is there agitation through clinging? Oh, sorry, it came out all in one lump. Regards from a self. Can you give me an example of this?
You think of the body as permanent?
As permanent, yeah.
This form is permanent?
Yeah, and this belongs to you. And you are all this, right? The form regards form as self. Okay, what about self as possessing form?
That's more the thinking you're unchanging, you're permanent.
Can you give me a
The form is
permanent?
permanent.
Okay, so that's almost the same as the first one then, but this is different. Self as possessing a form.
I am my tattoo, I am my hair, we define ourselves by the things we think of ourselves as.
That could be, yeah. And what about your shadow? Your shadow is also a form. But is it you? No. So the shadow of a flower, is the shadow the flower? No?
Well, it simply is the shadow of the flower. It doesn't mean it is the flower.
No. So that is self as possessing form. Self as in possessing form. That means the shadow, your shadow, is not your own existence right now, your body. But it does have a form there. It does have, it owns form, but it is not that self. The first is regards from a self. Yes, we regard this as us. Or we look at the oil lamp, the flame and the color of the oil lamp is inseparable. Right? So we, the mind and the body, is inseparable right now. But where is the self? What is the flame? What is the self of the flame? Is this the color? Or is it the form? Is it the form of the flame? You see, that is regards from a self. But both the color and the heat and the shape of that flame are inseparable. Okay? So self as possessing form, a tree or a flower or me standing in the sun casting a shadow on the ground, that shadow is not me. But yet there is a shadow of me in there. There is a shadow of this form in there. Yeah? And form as in self. What is a form as in self? Remember, don't be bound up by your concept of a form. A form is not necessarily like this. A form could be color, could be smell, could be taste. Form as in self. Feelings. Feelings, okay. Not quite. What about fragrance in a flower? The scent from a tree, from a jasmine bush. Huh? Huh? Say that again. Essence. Essence? The essence of the form. That is the essence of the form. But, you see, form as in self, like this self within the form, it is that self is situated inside that form, right? The flower, the scent is in the flower, isn't it? The fragrance is in the flower, right? They are inseparable, right? Yeah? So that is form as in self. The self is the flower, the form is the scent, the fragrance. So lost. I tell you, I asked you. Okay? Okay, the last confused one. Self as in form. What does it mean? A self inside, situated inside a form. Like what he said, the hair in your body, the eyes in your body, the diamond on your diamond ring. One thing, there is a self. One thing, there is something situated inside a form. So what is situated inside you? You don't have anything? You don't have skin, you don't have hair, you don't have cartilage, you don't have wrinkles, you don't have tears? Do you have a ring? You have a necklace? So you have a gem there? The gem in the necklace? That is a self in a form of necklace. But there is something special in there. There's something tangible there. There's something solid in there. But it's different.
I don't see the difference between form as in self and self as in form.
Form as in self and self as in form. Form as in self, that means the scent in the flower. The flower is the self.
Do you have another example?
Form as in self. Scent in the flower, taste in the food, taste in oranges, taste in apple. The apple is the self. Yeah? And the taste. Now? Yeah, you get.
Can you say the current
the characteristics, you can, the character of the self, the personality of a person is the form in the self. I think so. I think you can say that. Yes. Because the scent in the flower is the character of the flower, or the shape, or the color of the flower. But it's more of the color, you can see it as a form, but the scent, you cannot see it. But the character, you can see it. But personality.
Yeah, the personality, we cannot see it.
You can see personality. You can see personality, but not in like a form. You can see personality, but rushing. You can see that is a rushing personality. But you cannot feel a rushing personality. You can feel it, but with closed eyes, he's bumping here and then, walking very fast. You can feel that this is a rushing personality. Yeah, this is actually very difficult to comprehend. I spent a long time to comprehend this. I'm still in the midst too, as much as you are. So don't worry, we are on the same boat. All right. So we can start looking at this more, more and more. See if we can find out. We can find out more explanation for this. But yes, sorry.
So I'm not even close to beginning to understand this. I'm still at this place where I'm trying to understand whether all of this is something that we mistakenly see as true.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because otherwise I'm not worried.
Yes. 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 That is the whole thing about this chapter. We mistakenly seeing this as our true existence, the nature of our true existence, but it is not. Okay? Good. All right. So his consciousness preoccupied with the change of the form. If the form does change, then he become preoccupied. Like we start to grow old, I become preoccupied with this hunching back, and I start to become worried. And when that worry or when that dislike comes around, you see, these chapters are connected together. They are very much connected together, even though Bhikkhu Bodhi actually divided into little sub-chapters, but I can see the connection, the continuity of the teachings here. So agitation, that means it arises, the mental state arises because of likes and dislikes, the resulting from likes and dislikes. Then your mind becomes agitated, irritated, unsettled, unbalanced, right? And the constellation of mental states born of preoccupation. Because of this preoccupation with this change of form, that we have a trains of emotions, trains of reactions, trains of new consciousness arising, arising, constantly going and arising, going and arising. So we have these trains of new constellation. That means trains of new mental states arising, constantly arising because of this agitation. All right? Okay? I think that is too much to go on, really. Let's see. So he regards feelings as self, the same as you know this, right? The first one is this form, and then the second one is feelings, and the third is perception and volition, formation, and consciousness. What are these five called? 5 khandhas. Yeah, the 5 aggregates, right? So that means he actually is so much attached, so much clinging on to just this form and also this mind, this mental state, this physical state and also this mental state. Yeah, because of this clinging. So So that's why there is so much agitation. All right? So we will finish this. So for a non-agitated, not the Buddha said, now I tell you, how can we reach a state of non-agitation? Through non-clinging, so simple. Non-clinging. So simple, yeah. The instructed noble disciple. We are all instructed noble disciple. We have been studying the Buddha for eons, this lifetime. So we are well instructed. So we know, a seer of the noble ones, he said, is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma. So we constantly check ourselves. Are we skilled? Are we disciplined? No? Then you better improve yourself more, all right? And then he started going all this. He does not regard form as self, all right? And then he does not regard self as possessing a form. Now this become clearer here. Or form as in self. The scent as in the flower. The scent is not the flower. The flower is not just the scent. Yeah? Or self as in the form. The shadow is not you, and you are not the shadow. Right? Yeah, yeah. All right, or because of a flower, there's a shadow. And because of the sun, there's a shadow. If you're standing in the rain, there will be no shadow because of the sun. So you start to see, these are actually all conditioned. All conditioned. So because we start to see these conditioned, these are all conditioned, and the mind is not obsessed. So are we not obsessed? Are we still obsessed? Sometimes, good, at least you're aware, and a lot of times, good.
Not as often.
Not as often, that's good. That's good, that's great improvement, not as often. So, when we don't get obsessed, he is not frightened, and he's not distressed, and neither will he become anxious because he's not clinging. That's the whole thing, non-clinging. Free of tanha, right? Non-clinging. So when you don't cling, you won't be agitated. It's difficult, I tell you, it's very difficult. So forth with the other 5 aggregates. All right? Great. Reflections. Have you ever experienced this agitation through the attachment to this self? Is it physical or mental? Both. And are you afraid or reject of changes happened in the past? Not rejecting? Afraid of changes in the past. But what about now? How did you deal with them in the past? If there are changes. Huh? Worry, yeah. If you think that, oh, well, I need to move away from here, and then you will start to dwell into the future and start worrying about that future, which is unrealistic, isn't it? It hasn't happened yet, but we do that. And that because of that clinging to the future, we start to roll ourselves into the agitation. You see? So now, after having studied these few passages, can you think of any other way that you would like to use to deal with that situation? Non-clinging. How? Meditation. Really? All the time works? Every time works? Most of the time it does. It does, really. It does work because it allows the mind to settle down. And you start to see the problem. you start to see the way you're clinging onto it, actually the way you're hurting yourself more and more. You're not hurting others yet, but you hurt yourself more and more. And you start to get wise. No, I need to stop hurting myself. It's true, she's right. Meditation really is the key word. Allow yourself to settle down, right? All right? So you can do some of these reflections at home. All right? Huh? Every day, yeah. All right? No more questions? Lots of questions? Okay, save them. Okay, we dedicate our merits. May these blessings extend to all, that we with all the other living beings together will attain the Buddha way. May we share all our benefits by hearing the words of the Buddha with all sentient beings, human, non-human, visible, invisible, big or small, far or near. May they be free of enmity and miseries. May they start to find a way to liberate themselves from their own sufferings, miseries, dissatisfactions, unhappiness, and be truly happy and peaceful. May we wish more and more people will encounter the words of the Buddha, practice them, study them, and practice them, and help themselves to untie all the entanglements in their lives. Okay. Good night. Good night.